And we're live.
We are live?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the practice. Okay. Great class last week. I mean, really great class last week. You guys really are starting to have a much better class without me here, so.
Don't get any ideas. Or have all the ideas you want, just don't act on most of them.
Well,
think of others before yourself.
Worth the try.
And the truth comes out.
Well, moving on to the next.
You can try it once a quarter. No.
I mean, you guys really had a great class, and it was.
Sarah did a good job. Yep.
Everyone. Sarah was courageous in leading the class, and everyone just did a great job of being a part of it, and it was just, it was really fun to watch. And I, of course, like everyone, got a lot out of it, so it was great. So thank you. There was nothing wrong. There was no trauma or drama. I just being ever more attentive to the state of my energy, and I'm not about pushing. So if I have to push to do something, I immediately am attentive to that and just let go and just know that that's not a habit I need to be in any longer. And that although it may be productive in the short term, as I embrace all the deeper levels of immortal consciousness, I just can't justify pushing. So it was just one of those practices for me, and it was great because you guys did awesome without me. Little centering, little breath, little meditation. We have some goodies with us. Do we have our musical guest volunteering to share some love with us again? Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Magical flute.
Sarah? Are you going to come front and center for the magical flute?
They do it like, they kind of just want to be more subtle now when they do it, I think.
It was merely a question.
But I've already been deflected several times on that.
They're like getting away from
But I don't want them playing the flute in the parking lot. So, please.
You just want flute today?
I want whatever you want to give. Meet your breath. Engage in it. And engage in the space of breath like a wave. Expiration as the wave rolls into the shore. Inspiration as the wave gathers energy, height, velocity. Expiration as it gently rolls up on the beach, dissipating slowly, dispersing evenly, without resistance, receding back in, inspiration, and expiration. Find your own rhythm of that wave within you. Meet it, engage in it. Always much thanks and gratitude for the gift you share, the place it takes us, the mood it sets. Thank you so much. Hello, Miss Sonia. Let's begin by reviewing our focus points and our reflection questions, and then have a little enlightenment that I'd like to share with you around the subject of meditation. So I'll share some perspective and insight around that process with you all, and we'll do that at the end of this before we get into the chamber. So we have a really full, fun night of excitement here at Buckle up, kids. Mom and Dad are gonna get crazy.
You sounded like Bob Ross before you let into it.
Put this crazy little pine tree. Put that in the snow.
He's so happy.
He's so happy little tree.
Remind me
He's a
of
good
showing
man.
that.
That's a good man. I would love to meet him. He passed away. Yeah, too. Very talented.
It's always on YouTube. You can still find it.
Well, also Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
And sometimes PBS brings him back.
Yeah. There's a Friday night there, just take it in. The perceptual events of this world no longer control you or you them. Oh, this is from the end of this is from the end of that book that they said I wrote.
We have the updated version now.
Right. These perceptual events of this world no longer control you or you them. They do not dictate who you will be, who you've been, or who you will become. You let everything go, release it all. In an act of choiceless surrender, you are in this world, but no longer of it. As always, we do not judge ourselves or others. We honor where we are, and now we treat ourselves and others lovingly and compassionately. Focus points. Everything I've done and everything I've experienced in this life and in past lives is part of who I am today and is a perfect part of the process of creation. As such, I can switch my perspective and be grateful for all of it. Surrendering to immortality can be effortless. If I accept what is, let it be the way it is. It is a special gift of perspective to realize that through being vessel of God's love, peace, and unconditional acceptance, we can impact others and witness the bliss and inner peace crescendo in ourselves and others. It is just beautiful. You live life in an inner space full of peace. You are at peace with all possible outcomes in life. Each day you grow more peaceful with every opportunity life brings you. You encounter any one of an infinite number of possibilities with peace, joy, and trust. Remember, a healing for one of us is a healing for all of us. With this understanding, we share with each other with an intention of healing and balance, of acceptance, compassion, and love. Reflection questions. As I continue to reflect on immortality and perspective, did I take the opportunity to practice shifting my perspective in any of my experiences this past week? Can anyone describe a situation where they were experiencing it more from a mortal point of view and they were able to shift the perspective into more of an immortal point of view?
I had something today, actually.
Well, then we're going to grab that low-hanging fruit, maybe.
Right today. I have to participate in a company meeting every Tuesday, and it's exhausting, and it's difficult, and usually I end up shutting down, turning off, doodling, whatever, getting angry, and since the last couple of weeks, I've really been trying to just remember that I come from an immortal place, right? And this stuff really, it matters, but it doesn't matter. Like, what do I care, I have to show up and be present, right? I have to be pleasant. And it has allowed me to, be cheerful. Like, I'm cheerful to people that I'm not always cheerful to, you know what I'm saying? And truthfully, I don't feel like, oh, I gotta be nice. I'm like, hi, how are you today? It's like, but it's still a struggle. Like, I have to remember that. Like, I literally, that's first thought, wrong thought, and then I have to pull back, and even if it's for 10 minutes, I'm immortal, oh yeah, right, this really doesn't matter. Oh yeah, right, what do I care? I love each and every one of these people, and I spend 8 to 10 hours a day with these folks. I love them, bless them, love them, bless them. They're all struggling too. Anyway, that was my experience today.
That's a pretty great one. Pretty great one. It says a lot about the whole thing, doesn't it? It's a process of remembering, process of reminding. That's why I just love the words. It's a practice of it's a process of practice. But the more you practice it, the more it becomes automatic, and then it becomes unconsciously automatic, and then it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Considering all the ways we've talked about being in a moment, i.e. being in stillness, inspiration, expiration, being with nature, being in the night sky, etc., which of these and or others can I utilize to help me walk in immortality? We know the answer can be, and it's true, the answer could be any or all of them, but which one of these did anyone find themselves wanting to use as a tool?
With the warm weather, definitely being in nature.
Nice.
And, at night when it's just nice and cold, and the night sky, the crisp air, and just being outside.
Nice. So nature was a big one.
I definitely use being still
some faces may have been here last week, but they're new to me, so welcome.
I was here last week, that was my first week.
Great, were you here last week too?
No, I was.
So you're new today?
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I'm Carol.
Carol.
Carol, she's my friend.
I'm looking at name tags. I'm Keith. What's your name?
I'm Katie.
Carol and Katie. Nice.
And Nick came here too. Yeah.
I know him, but he's new to the group.
Say hi.
Nick, you were here last week, weren't you? No, this is your first week?
Right.
Everyone, this is Nick. Nick, Carol, and Katie. Welcome, everybody. And welcome all new viewers out there in TV land.
Miss Barbara, Barbara Boo.
We're not using the mirror tonight.
Somewhere it's a full moon. Beautiful night sky.
Yeah, that's right.
The awakening you had with us that one time that you wrote about.
Yeah, all that. Okay. Question 3. This week I consciously channel. Okay. This week, not all day. This week I consciously. Every day. That's the only channel on my TV. This week I consciously channel God's love, peace, and unconditional acceptance with anyone who crosses my path, okay? As I say, anyone who will listen. Even the smallest gesture, i.e. a smile, can cause a shift while I open myself to the magic, okay? Pam, you already gave us an example of what a shift happened when you decided to channel love and immortality instead of angry Pam. And, you know.
It was really easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like, wow, I don't feel angry. That's really cool.
Right?
And I'm sure that the wave that went out for me was love and peace to them. So they didn't feel like, ooh, I got to sneak by Pam's office because she's mean.
Right.
You know, whatever. So yeah.
Anyone else have an experience where they were able to be in that place more and they saw a change in others around them? Yeah.
Mine is work related too. I have a company, and one of the women that works for me, I really like, and I feel like she would be here tonight. She's a really spiritual being. But for some reason, I assumed that she didn't like me. And I don't know what I was projecting onto it, but I just felt like there was this distance. And so I decided I need to talk to, there's 7 employees, and I have to sit down and talk to each one about an issue. So I started with her, and I meditated, and I brought God in and the consciousness in, and I sat down with her, and it was a glorious conversation. And I realized that I was completely assuming something that wasn't true at all.
Isn't it great to be so wrong about something that makes your life so great?
It is. I've just been dancing.
And that totally reminds me of the cosmic symbol of love.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I
just
remember
sitting
that.
with somebody like that you think you have tension with, or that you do have tension with, and just, you know, like putting them in a place of love, it just totally like fixes that relationship.
It does all that really can be done. You know, many times it brings it to that space, but it always brings it to a better place, and it brings it to the best place it can. And then, you know, like anything, it doesn't mean you just do it once. You know, you do it because it's what you do. Awesome. Awesome. Anybody else care to share? Okay. Oh, all right. So there's a couple of things I wanted to share, but I really feel that the first little tidbit that I want to talk about, and again, I always tell you all that, and I really don't feel like I come up with anything new. I just am guided to show a perspective on something that maybe has been spoken of that needs to be brought into consciousness. Maybe it's either that or it's just something that just needs to be talked about again. So I want to talk about the whole energy of meditation, and I want to give you a different perspective on what meditation is. And I feel as though when I share this with you, it'll make meditation much more effortless for all of you, because I've never heard meditation talked about this way, and that doesn't mean that it hasn't been. It just means that I haven't heard about it. You know, what do I know? So what I'd like to help you see is that meditation, if you look at it this way, let's look at more of a classic idea of meditation. You get into this place and you calm yourself and you get into this breath and you empty your mind out and you go to this place of complete relaxation. And you look at, that is what helps me to meditate. That's what helps me to get into that space. What I would like you to see from a different angle is that the meditative space is not something you get into. It is a space. It's a space. Which means it's something you arrive. It's not so much about what you have to do to get there. It's a space of existence. If you can reach it by doing this, or whatever you do to get there, okay? All you're proving is that the space of meditation, the meditative space we'll call it, exists. Once you realize that if you can get to it, it exists, which means it exists all the time. It is the meditative space. The fact that you discover it, okay, through what you are telling yourself is a practice of breath and centering, and all that is just the way that you got to it, the way you discovered it. So let's make a metaphor. Let's look at it like we're explorers, all right? And we're taking off across. We're getting into our caravan, and we're going to go from Canada, and we're going to go to the Gulf of Mexico. And we're in our wagons, and we've got our horses, and we're really going to work at getting from that part of the country to the southern part of the country. And we're going to go over the mountains, we're going to cross all the valleys, we're going to deal with all those things, because that's going to help us discover that that southern part of the country exists, right? That's the way we're going to explore it. That's the way that we're used to proving that we can get from point A to point B. That's the way you're all discovering meditation. It's something you have to put effort and time into to get to. What I want to show you is, if you just get in a boat and get in the Mississippi, it's already carved out. You don't have to overcome a lot of stuff. You can put yourself in a place that allows it to just happen. And you can let yourself arrive in the Gulf of Mexico without all the effort that you're used to putting into getting from one part of the country to the other, one place of consciousness to the other. Once you know something exists, immediately be open to the easiest way to be in that space. Don't get caught up in how you got there as the point of it in this way when it comes to meditation. You discovered that a meditative space exists. Okay. Now, how can I arrive at that space with the least effort? Because if I can do it with the least effort, I can do it with the highest level of consistency. Okay? Because at some point, the time and effort it takes to do something can be a deterrent from actually getting it done, right? And there's nothing, again, guys, remember, I'm coming from this place of immortality now, okay? So I'm not against the process of learning how time and effort are important in learning things, okay? That's very important. But I'm teaching this lesson from the place of, we've all put time and effort into things. We all know the value of time and effort, okay? So let's make that point clear, asterisk, okay? It's not about diminishing the importance of time or effort. It's about those of us who continue to engage in things with a high level of time or effort, letting them become more easy and fluid and immediate, because we don't need to learn we don't need to learn from the constant process of time and effort. Everyone with me on that? You get the difference here? You arrive there. Space of existence. When it doesn't become something you have to achieve, it becomes something that automatically is very obtainable all the time. When I don't have to breathe 20 times and sit in lotus position to get to a space of meditation, all of a sudden, I'm there. When I don't have to go through A, B, C, D to get to E and F, I'm there. Why? Because I've taken away the need to go through all the steps to get there. Who says you have to go through all those steps to get to meditation? People who have gotten to meditation through those steps. So I know the same thing I say about religion, the same thing I say about government, the same thing I say about every institutionalized, organized structure that everyone believes they need to follow to get somewhere. I say that it's all bullshit. I say it constantly. I don't say there's anything wrong with it. I don't say there's anything wrong with learning to get to it from that point. But at some point, if you don't need to get through that way, it can become bullshit and you can just go, okay. If I know what 2 plus 2 is, I don't have to write out what's 2 plus 2 equals 4. I can go 2 plus 2 is 4. Why? Because I know my multiplication facts. The fact is, you don't have to go through that. You can believe in the possibility of being there. In allowing yourself to believe in the possibility of being in the meditative space that exists, not trying to create a meditative space, be in the meditative space. Don't try and invent meditation within yourself. The meditative space exists, or you'd never find it meditating. Be in the meditative space. And what's the difference? Being in the meditative space, I have no control. Putting myself in the meditative space, I have to give up control. One includes letting go of control. One is just, I have no control. One is something I achieve. One is something I am. I am from a meditative space. When you think about how you are when you meditate, okay? The stillness, the order, the way things all hold. Okay? Creation must come from a meditative space. For it to be as constant, as stable. I mean, just energetically, guys, for it to be such a stable intention to withstand so much free will, choice, creative turmoil, okay? The base energy, the space that it comes from, has to be a meditative space. You come from meditation. You come from it. You are meditation. You're based in meditation. It's not something you have to accomplish. It's something you have to realize you are. Enlightenment allows for you to be aware of that meditative space. So once you accomplish it, okay, the other way, that's great. But if you'd rather just realize that on some things, like the journey is really important, don't get me wrong, but on other things, you know what? I just want to be in a meditative space. Because I know when I'm in that space, I heal quicker, my body regenerates quicker, I sleep better. You know what? At some point, I don't need to go through A, B, C, and D. Now, if you look at what other spiritual teachers have told us about things in the past, okay, those that were considered radical, which most people would consider to me to be a fundamentalist radical teacher. Okay, I'm very fundamentalist, but I'm radical in my ideas. I consider myself to be a wonderful company. But I'm very fundamentalist. I'm a foundationalist, even more than a fundamentalist. Because fundamentalists can be political. I'm more of a foundationalist that has radical ideas about the foundational nature of reality. Once you know something exists, become it. Once you know a space exists, enter it. Now, what does that mean? It means you don't always have to go through all the steps. You can travel through things linearly, over the mountains, down the hills, across the river, okay? Or you can travel through things in an abstract manner, get on the river, get to where you're going. If you feel there's something to learn, If you honestly feel in your heart that you have lessons to learn by the other way of meditating, and you need to discover meditation through discipline, okay? Be my guest. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, okay? Same thing when someone comes in and says, I'm a very seriously practicing Christian, okay? Good for you. How's it working for you? It's great. It gives me peace. Good for you. It's working for you. Fantastic. That's wonderful. And then I have someone who'll come in and see me, and I'll say, they'll say, what's your spiritual practice? And I say, I'm just one with things. I'm in a space of just knowing and oneness. And they'll say, oh my gosh, that's what I do. I'll say, well, good for you. How's it working for you? That works for me. It gives me peace. It gives me connection. Well, good for you. If you need to sit and om and do that to enter into the meditative space, and you feel that meditative space is on some level a reward for the hard work effort that you're putting into it, and that's what gives you affirmation and willingness to do it, hey, that's fantastic. But I'm here to tell you, there's another way. You can simply be conscious of that space and allow yourself to enter into that space that you come from. It's a return. I'm helping you return to something. Drop into it. Don't climb the mountain of structure to get to something all the time. Everything isn't always about, much can be gained from just, it isn't all about strife. It isn't all about yearning and effort. It's about letting go, sinking in. But knowing it's where you're from. And letting the journey become about as much where you're from as where you're going. Because in reality, if you're in this practice, you're going back to where you're from. You're going back to immortality. Back to eternity. So on some level, if you're going back into this place of complete, unconditional love, acceptance, peace, calm, you're going back to where you came from. So at some level, having to always strive for it, it goes against where you're from. It's a part of the notion that you're trying to create something. You're trying to get to something. That, by nature, there's learning in it, but by nature it's opposite of now. Can you be focused, organized, productive? Of course. Of course. But you're doing it not doing it. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Because I want to continue to share these things that are become obvious to me. Because I'm just doing what I'm told to do all day long. And then I observe what I'm being told to do. And I try and be aware of what I'm being told to do. How is it useful, beneficial, and how can I share it with other people? Because I don't want to just be the only one who receives all the wonderful things that I receive by being told what to do. And don't get me wrong, you guys all come in to see me and you receive a lot of wonderful things. But I want to show you, like, okay, how do I do this all day long? I mean, fundamentally, how does someone do what I do all day long? How does someone run that much energy and that much information? And how do you do it? And so as I open up, well, I'm in a meditative space. I'm in a suspended, what you would all consider, I'm in a suspended reality. Okay, well, I'm not consciously trying to be in that suspended reality anymore. So how is it happening? Well, you are entering into a meditative space, not a meditative state. I'm not entering into a state of mind, everybody. Meditation has been taught to you to be a state of mind. No, it's a space of being. State of mind is what you get yourself into when you meditate. A meditative space is the space of being. It's where you exist. It's where you live. It's where you love. It's where you eat. It's where you shit. It's where you do everything. None of that's not a meditative thing to do. So everything becomes a meditation. Urination happens from a meditative space. Defecation happens from a meditative space. Washing your hands happens in the meditative. You do everything that you've been doing in your current space in a meditative space, but not a meditative state. How can I wash my hands when I'm trying to be meditative? Okay, breathe. Okay, breathe. Okay, be calm. Don't think about washing your hands. Stop thinking about washing your hands, but wash your hands. It doesn't work.
And then the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man arrives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you can't.
I was just going to ask about that because part of the thing that I've practiced, according to what's been taught to me, is that when the thought comes in, I just say, oh, that's a nice thought, and let it go out.
Right.
But that's in the state.
That's in the state.
But if I were in the space, I could still have the thoughts that I have, but
Right.
it just means in the space.
That's it. That's the difference. That's what I wanted to teach you all.
Hot damn.
But you know what's cool about that is that when you begin to really, there's a lot of things that are connected when you get to that point, because if you're living in the flow of what you are all about, you don't even think about it. And I mean, there were times when I meet with clients and I walk out of meeting with a client and go, where the hell did that come from? Okay? I didn't plan it that way. I don't prepare for client meetings as much anymore because it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into it and feel that you have to be meditating in your car before you go in there, you know, because you never know what's going to happen there. And you just are responding to whatever happens in the moment.
Yeah, and again, it's the state. You know, remember, you guys are going to get tired of hearing me repeat this because I have to continue to repeat it because it doesn't get through a lot of filters. I am not saying anything is wrong with the state of meditation or the practice of a meditative state. I'm saying I'm here to teach how to live eternally. So when you hear me talk about how to live, I'm here to teach you how to live eternally. If you're just living a mortal life, and that's what you believe life is, well then a state of meditation may be more than enough for you to survive your life. I'm not here to survive my life. I'm living forever. So a state is nice, but a space, okay. Because it's right.
But don't you, I mean, something was occurring to me when you were talking before. Our lives over our lifespan, however long we've been here, busyness has been rewarded. And having structure, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, and I don't do that anymore, but the busyness, okay, now it's time to meditate. And okay, you're at a church, and we're going to meditate, okay? And this is how you meditate. And they take you through the steps. And you get to that point where many times through the process of getting to the point of being in a meditative state, in a meditative life, okay? You go through that of learning how to do it, but then people get stuck with the busyness and the structure and the process, and they don't know how to do it without the process.
Right.
Okay.
That's the whole idea of what the practice is teaching us. It's teaching those who are ready to transcend that process and make it a practice, a space of reality. So as I was talking about you know, the conflict between accomplishing task and being in a meditative state. Okay, when the meditative state takes effort, okay, then it conflicts with two things that take effort. Now, yes, can I wash my hands very meditatively? Yep, that gets too conflictual, it gets too complicated. There's too much mind involved. When you allow yourself to just live in the meditative space, and you begin practicing living in a meditative space, then everything you do in that space, you do meditatively, so to speak. Okay?
You know, people have always asked me, when do I feel like I'm in a meditative state?
Mm-hmm.
My answer has always been when I'm gardening. I'm not thinking about not thinking. I'm just in the moment.
That's it.
And I think being in the moment of gardening for me, I now know what to call it.
That's it.
That's being in a meditative space.
Right. And now all I would say to that is, that's the way you discovered its existence.
Yep.
It's
I just
all.
didn't have any
That's it.
acceptance before because it was, you know, no, you can't be meditating if you're on your knees pulling weeds.
Right.
Sure you can.
Right. Exactly. So that's the way you discovered the existence of the meditative space. Discovering its existence, how you discovered its existence, is wonderful. But don't let that be the only pathway to its discovery. Otherwise, you become limited by your ability to access that space through that doorway. That's why what I'm teaching is, that discovered it for you. Now you know it's possible for you, it exists. But now let go of the fact that it existed because you gardened. Don't give credit to what you're doing.
No, it's when I garden, not because I garden.
Right, it was when you gardened you discovered it. Now you can be in it all the time.
Yeah, I would hate to depend on gardening in this climate.
Right. And I would hate to depend on, always having to sit, for 2 or 3 hours at a time to arrive at that state. Living eternally isn't about fitting something in. It's about everything being present. And knowing it's present, because it existed, in one way or another you discovered it, and then it's about allowing what you discovered to be an ever-present experience, an eternal experience.
That's the meditative space, heaven on earth.
That's it. That is the meditative space, exactly.
I've heard this analogy been used before in a meditation class I used to go to, and it's the Wizard of Oz. It's like when Dorothy started out, she started out in a shared space with her family, and she ended up going off on her own, and then coming back to the shared space, and everybody was still there. It's like this shared, where everything's really kind of like there at once.
That's right.
And it's like home, always home already.
That's right.
And sometimes I notice it, sometimes I don't.
That's right. But it's always there.
And when I do notice it, I notice, well, this has always been here.
That's right. To me, my humble opinion is that the most comforting part of the enlightenment around this teaching for all of you was, it's where I'm from. It's not what I'm trying to achieve through discipline and rigidity and structure and commitment. It's where I'm from. And allowing that natural structure of energy that I'm from to reveal itself. To make itself known to me. And to integrate with it.
You know what is really interesting is that I'm now 5 weeks into moving. And it's kind of like I would just feel like, all right, I'm going to pack a box. And I don't think anymore. I just keep going. And packing to move was never that effortless. And this time, because it's just the continuum, it's the next step of where I'm going, that it's becoming so easy to do what I need to do without thinking about it. And before I know it, I've packed up a whole room, or I've gotten rid of a whole room of stuff. And, there's no conscious decision, there's no process. It's like, I'm like Pavlov's dog. I see a Heinen's and I know they have egg boxes.
That's right.
And, I go in and I ask for the egg boxes, get what I need, and I unload them and when it's time to fill them. But there's no process, there's no steps. And it drives me crazy when my son, who's going to move me, wants to make me take steps. And I'm going, it'll all get done the way it's supposed to.
Right. And that's because we don't remember. We say that, you know, and I honor that Jan says that because she's saying it from a place of, I've taken the steps. I've gone through that process enough times. I'm not lazy. I'm not distracted. I'm not irresponsible. I'm done believing that any of that exists for me anymore. It's not.
Flow.
It's flow.
It's that immortal space, too, which is the way to do it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember, we are a product of a process. So when we give ourselves to that process, okay, that inherent process has the steps built into it.
And it's very easy to meditate because you're not thinking.
No.
You don't have to think about all the things, you just do it. And it's like gardening.
And you don't have to stop thinking about all the things either. Because thoughts are, well, you know, when you're not trying to achieve a state of meditation, when you're in a meditative space, okay, thoughts are welcome.
Thank goodness.
It's like saying, okay, we're gonna have all the families get together, we're gonna have this wonderful family reunion, we're gonna have everybody together in one place, but you can't bring little kids. You know, then you're not really getting together. You know, if you're really at peace, you should be at peace with the childish thoughts. You shouldn't have to get to peace by eliminating them. You should be at peace with them around you. They're not making decisions. They're not harming anyone. They're not trying to be distracting or noisy. They're just little kids. They're just little thoughts. They're just a byproduct of what's happening. You know, to have to eliminate everything from your life to reach a certain point, I find that to be unsustainable. I don't want to be a spiritually enlightened person because I live in an ashram or because I tuck myself away and I'm hermetic. That's wonderful for me, but ultimately I feel enlightenment is about being present with everybody and everything. That's when you find out whether you're really okay or not. To be okay in isolation is one thing, but to be okay in integration is the ultimate goal of God's love.
I just wanted to share one of the things that I really love is a talk by Ram Dass where it's the path of the heart, and I posted this a while ago, but it just resonates so strongly in terms of the mind has an I and it, a differentiation with what is like the observer and an object, and the path of the heart is just embracing. It embraces everything, and you know, it's this. He puts it as it's this unbelievable level of compassion of we are one with everything. And when I am in that, it's just like everything is like witnessing myself. Like a lot of it's just with running and like getting myself into my heart, like living in there. And it's just so wonderful because then I'm just like, I'm the ether, I'm the spirit that's experiencing what my form needs to do. And then it just, you know, thank you for telling me that it doesn't need to be in running for that to happen. Because it's not practical to be running everywhere. And it's just nice to like, to see, you know, when you're in your heart, the thoughts can just go by, and if anything, sometimes they're entertaining, like little children.
You just pump them through.
Yeah, and you're just still with the space.
It's okay for circulation to happen.
Do you consider daydreaming a space of meditation?
Without a doubt.
Again,
that's how that was your path to discovery. That was your path to discovery. What time is it? I feel like
7:22.
Perfect. Sarah?
It's so interesting we're having this lesson tonight, because I had it yesterday in yoga too, and the teacher gave us this lesson of, she had heard this quote from a spiritual teacher. Someone said to him, what do you do all day? He meditates all day. What do you do all day? And he said, I just rest in existence. I thought that was so beautiful. I just rest in existence. And for me, like what you were just saying and what Kat was saying with the gardening, my practice is always to be in my yoga off the mat. And so what you're saying is to be in your meditation in that space.
It's a space.
To be in that space. And so that links it together nicely because yoga for me is removing meditation.
Yeah.
So it just ties it all in so
Good.
nicely.
Just let go of it being a state of mind. And let it become a space. A space that you exist in. You move into it. And you'll move in and out of it at first, okay? But after a while, you'll move into it. No pun intended with Jan's life, but you'll move your entire life into it. And what happens is, as you move your life into the space of meditation, you go through exactly what Jan's going through. Some things fit in your new life, some don't. But what I found is, you know what doesn't fit in my new space? Like heaviness, doubt, distrust, tension. It just doesn't fit.
Promotes the illusion of mortality.
Yeah, and all that stuff is based in mortality. So I'm telling you, this awareness of immortality that you're all embracing, if you can just add this little lesson on top of it, that the beauty of immortality is it gives you permission to exist in a space, not a state, a space of meditation. It's a beautiful adjunct to what we've been talking about. And I was just so happy to share it, and I thank you all so much for
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful. So we have some wonderful people to bring healing and love to tonight, so we better get on that, and then
I wrote a note.
I think we're on. Huh?
No, just stand.
Are you talking to the executive producer? Over
Yeah.
there?
Butt out, man. We're going to cut your funding.
So we have Randy and Karen. These are your friends. Awesome. So we're going to do some work for Randy and Karen, and then now the cool thing is, guys, is now that we've talked about this, I want you to all apply it, because all healing happens easier in the space of what? Meditation. So I'm teaching you all the secrets behind the curtains, okay? So what we're going to do as we help Randy and Karen and Andy is all we're doing to help them heal is we're just setting the intention to bring them into a greater space of what?
Love.
Not that as much, that's true always. But Meditation. Meditation. In that space of meditation, what do we experience more easily? Love. It becomes a natural product of that space of meditation.
We become receptors.
That's it. So let's just really come together here. Let's get tight. Let's be in our oneness. Let's not be afraid of each other. Let's embrace each other. And Randy and Karen and Andy, let's just really breathe with them. Let's all connect into their breath. And let's begin to slow their breath for them. And as we slow their breath, we slow their blood flow. And as we slow their blood flow, we give it a little bit longer to go past those wonderful little air sacs in our lungs called the alveoli. There we go. And everybody's starting to feel this with me now. If we just give it a little bit longer, a little fraction of a second longer to absorb a little more oxygen. And that little fraction of a second that absorbs a little more oxygen, we take that out, multiply it times, 100,000, very significant amount of increased oxygenation. And we're bringing that increased level of oxygenation to all of our friends, Randy and Karen and Andy, and all of us, of course. We get the benefit of this wonderful space. Beautiful, everyone. On a very basic level, we're helping to increase the oxygenation of their tissues, their brains, their bodies. That allows their breath to slow down even more because they're not suffocating from their own anxieties, tensions, and fears. And in that more relaxed space, order is more easily restored, strengthened, and
and made obvious. And they are perceiving a healing. As are all of us. There's no fighting where you're from, everybody. There's accepting it. I set this intention for all in the world. That they begin to let their physical beings embrace the immortal space that they're from, that they allow the oxygen, the basic reason that life exists on a chemical level is the presence of oxygen. Yet your struggle with mortality makes it so difficult for the oxygen to work. Why would you want to work against oxygen? When you work against oxygen, you have to breathe harder, work harder to be alive. More tend to get more inflamed, irritated, silly. Let's not be silly that way. Let's be silly like Dr. Keith is silly, but let's not be silly in the way that we're angry and frustrated. That's bad silly. Be good silly. Everyone be good silly with me? I don't want to be the only good silly here. Okay, that's it. That's good silly. Good silly. Silly putty. Beautiful. We're all little beautiful balls of silly putty. We're going to leave it with that. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thanks for coming back. Wow.